Have you ever wondered why Judas is so obsessed with the lunar eclipse? An intriguing question, isn't it? The celestial ballet of the moon and earth is indeed a sight to behold, yet our friend Judas seems to have taken this fascination to a different level. Could it be that this lunar fixation is merely a smokescreen, a distraction from the realities of his life? Judas and his partner Drunkiel claim to be on a quest for self-sufficiency, a noble goal indeed, but is it genuine? Is it not strange that their videos, instead of showcasing their journey towards self-reliance, mostly revolve around unrelated topics? The lunar eclipse, grain bins, and even the unfortunate incident of a house on fire. But where are the videos on their self-sufficiency efforts? The evidence seems to be missing, doesn't it? Now one might argue, perhaps they enjoy hot dogs. But how does indulging in processed food equate to self-sufficiency? It appears that our dear Judas might be pulling the wool over the eyes of his subscribers. A classic magician's trick, misdirection. While we are all marveling at the lunar eclipse, what is Judas really up to? Judas claims he values our opinions. But does he truly engage with his loyal followers, the ones he refers to as his lemmings? Or does he only respond to the truth seekers, those who question his narrative and call out the inconsistencies? Is it possible that Judas is more comfortable dealing with those who challenge him than those who blindly follow? The plot thickens when we consider Judas and Drunkiel's penchant for filming their visits to grain bins and even a house on fire. Are they merely capturing life's moments, or is there a more sinister motive at play? Are they capitalizing on others' misfortunes for their own gain? So is Judas just an innocent lunar enthusiast, or is there more to his story? As the moon waxes and wanes, so do the tales of Judas. Perhaps in the end, the lunar eclipse is not just a celestial event for Judas, but a symbol of his own life. A shadow that conceals more than it reveals. How self-sufficient can you really be if your diet consists mainly of hot dogs? It's a question that begs to be asked when considering the lifestyle of Judas and his partner, Drunkiel. They claim to be on a journey towards self-sufficiency, a noble goal indeed. But let's examine this claim a bit more closely. Picture this, a couple living off the land, growing their own food and making their own clothes. It's a romantic image, isn't it? But is that what we see in Judas and Drunkiel's case? Far from it. Instead, we see a couple who regularly dine on hot dogs, a food item that is not only highly processed, but also bought from a store. How does this align with their claims of self-sufficiency? It doesn't. Self-sufficiency is about being independent, about creating a lifestyle that is not reliant on external systems. It's about making do with what you have, about being resourceful and innovative. It's about knowing where your food comes from, about the satisfaction of harvesting your own crops, and about the pride of making your own clothes. But when was the last time we saw Judas and Drunkiel truly embody these principles? Instead, we see a pair who seem to be more interested in creating an illusion of self-sufficiency, a facade that is as thin as the buns on their hot dogs. They talk the talk, but do they walk the walk? It's hard to say they do when their actions tell a different story. But why would they do this? Why would they claim to be something they're not? The answer, my friends, lies in the power of perception. By painting themselves as self-sufficient, they create an image that is appealing to their followers. It's a clever move, but one that is built on shaky foundations. So, I ask you again, is Judas really as self-sufficient as he claims, or is he simply fooling his subscribers? The answer, it seems, is as clear as the mustard on a hot dog. Why does Judas only respond to the truth seekers and ignore his loyal followers? That's a question that's been nagging at us, hasn't it? Here we have Judas, who portrays himself as a man of the people, yet his actions tell a different story. Judas, the silver-tongued charmer, seems to be more interested in those who challenge him, the truth seekers, than those who ardently support him, the loyal followers. Isn't it peculiar? The very people who stand by him, who hang onto his every word, are the ones Judas chooses to overlook. It's like a bizarre game of hide and seek where Judas only seeks those who hide their admiration for him. But why? Why does Judas prefer the sting of criticism over the warmth of support? Is it because the truth seekers provide him with a challenge, a chance to flex his mental muscles and prove them wrong? Or is it because he revels in the attention, even if it's negative? Perhaps it's neither. Perhaps it's a more sinister reason. Could it be that Judas is using his loyal followers, not cherishing them? It's a chilling thought, isn't it? That the very people who believe in him are just pawns in his game, mere stepping stones on his path to success. Could it be that for Judas, These loyal followers are just numbers, just statistics that propel him towards fame and fortune? That their words of encouragement, their undying support are nothing more than a means to an end for him? It's unsettling to think about, but it's a possibility we can't ignore. We've seen how Judas operates, how he twists words and manipulates situations for his own benefit. And if he can do that to the truth seekers, what's stopping him from doing the same to his loyal followers? So we're left with a question that only Judas can answer. Does Judas truly value his followers' opinions, or is he merely using them for his own gain? Until Judas provides an answer, we can only speculate and hope that our suspicions are wrong. What kind of person profits off someone else's heartbreak? This question brings us to an alarming incident involving our duo, Judas and Drunkiel. Picture this, a house, a home, engulfed in flames, the very embodiment of a family's despair and heartbreak. Yet, what do Judas and Drunkiel do? They whip out their camera not to call for help, but to film the tragedy unfolding using someone else's misfortune as content for their own video series. Is this the act of compassionate human beings or the work of opportunistic content creators? It's a matter of ethics and morality, isn't it? A house on fire is not a spectacle, it's a catastrophe. It's a moment of loss and pain, not an opportunity to create engaging content, and yet that's exactly what they did. Now, don't get me wrong, in the world of content creation, there's a fine line between documenting reality and exploiting it, but filming a house burning down, a real-life tragedy, and using it as fodder for their own videos seems to cross that line. Where is the empathy in these actions? Where is the respect for the privacy of those affected? And let's not forget, this isn't a one-off incident. This is part of a pattern. The duo's track record is littered with similar instances. They've shown time and again that they're willing to go to any lengths to churn out content, no matter how questionable the means may be. They've made a habit of turning the misfortunes of others into their own gain. But at what cost? At the cost of someone else's heartbreak? At the cost of their own moral compass? That's the question we all need to be asking ourselves, and them. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about the content they create, but the methods they employ to create it. Are Judas and Drunkiel simply opportunistic content creators, or have they crossed a line? It's a question that needs an answer, and it's a question that will continue to haunt them until they change their ways. Is Jason Crocker an innocent YouTuber or a cunning manipulator? Let's delve into this. It appears that Jason Crocker, also known as Judas, has a knack for playing to the gallery. With a significant portion of his followers being elderly, he seems to have found a niche audience to influence. But is this influence harmless, or is it a calculated move? Picture this, an eloquent church evangelist, speaking passionately, drawing you into their narrative, promising salvation and peace. Sounds familiar? Well, that's because Jason Crocker isn't too different. He spins tales, creates narratives, and lures his audience into believing in a life that's far detached from reality. But is it all just harmless storytelling? Consider this. Jason's attempts at self-sufficiency are questionable at best. Hot dogs and grand plans of self-sustenance don't exactly align, do they? It seems that the narrative of self-sufficiency is more of a facade, a carefully constructed image to keep his followers engaged and invested. But here's where it gets troubling. The potential harm of such manipulation is far from trivial. It's not just about misleading content or exaggerated claims. It's about exploiting dreams and aspirations, about feeding off the hopes of those who yearn for a simpler, self-sufficient life. It's about cashing in on the dreams of his followers, many of whom are elderly and perhaps living vicariously through his adventures. And let's not forget his partner in crime, Drunkiel. She plays along, adding fuel to the fire, becoming an accomplice in this game of manipulation. Their actions, their disregard for the impact they have on their followers and the environment, paints a rather grim picture. So, what do you think? Is Jason Crocker the charming YouTuber he presents himself as, or is there a darker side to him? Remember, it's always essential to question, to probe, to think critically. Because sometimes beneath the charismatic exterior lurks a manipulator, spinning tales and weaving illusions.